my friends. Oh my goodness, hello. Hello, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to be back on this camera. We've changed things up a little bit. So what was once a podcast is now just vibes. I am not a formatted person, never have been, never will be. So there is no format. There is no format. You're just here for good energy. I'm just here for good energy. Whatever happens, happens sort of vibe. So welcome back, welcome all. Welcome all. You don't even understand the bubbly energy that is like flowing from my system right now. We're gonna paint, we're gonna talk. How are you? I hope you're still good, because Lord knows I'm good. Let me tell you guys, the peace that has come over me after this last eclipse. And if you know, September was AI. That was not real. That was not real. That shifted my whole life. That shifted my whole life. But I have a surprise guest. Is she hiding? No, she's not hiding. Oh, goodness. So many of you know I have a cat, but now I have a baby. I have a baby as well. This is Azula. If you guys don't know, my other cat's name is Zuko, so everyone say hi, Azula. Welcome. I adopted them both. Go ahead. I adopted them both from the Humane Society about 6 months apart after the passing of my dog, my precious Tiana. May she rest in heaven, angel. And they are my family. They are my chosen ones. They actually bring me so much joy, so much life when I come home. I really struggled with loneliness for a while, and these two give me something to look forward to when I come home. So we're working on a new piece. Ooh, she's a little sticky. We're working on a new piece. I've laid the base. Some of you may have already seen my time-lapse that I posted, but if you didn't, that's okay. We're gonna paint it today. We're gonna paint it today. I have so much to share, I feel. I don't necessarily know how I want to format what it is I want to share, but I'm just gonna flow with whatever comes out. But I had, let's actually figure out what our starting color is before I start talking. I think I want a darker blue. I got all of this wonderful, I got new paint supplies, I got a brand new palette, I got like heavy body acrylic paint. This is not even the most professional grade you can get, obviously, but I got, you know, the next step up from what I was using, which was like this, like hissy co, like just you know, like starter paint. There's a difference. But I had yoga today, and yoga is always so eye-opening. I was recently speaking about in a video how I prefer the alignments that I get in class over the compliments that I would get. And obviously both are welcome, as positive energy is always welcome. But how I just recently preferred that physical adjustment instead of, you know, just being like, oh, you're doing a good job. Like, no, please help me. Please help me, I'm struggling. So I was struggling. And I recently have been so much more consistent with my practice and consistent with maintaining my yoga routine, especially at home and not just my Friday class. And with that has come so much growth, so much revelation as a young yogi, as an experienced starter yogi. I have a little bit of a background in dance, but at the same time that was quite some time ago, so I wouldn't say that that's necessarily something that I like advertise. Just because I was never like too into it, but I loved it. I loved going to class. I loved the feeling of dancing, and I love to dance, just like not competitively, not professionally. But anywho, doing that has been so good for me and so good, so grounding for my spirit, and I love my yoga teacher. And so the last 2 weeks I've finally gotten back, readjusted, and gotten consistent once again with my practice, which I'm very happy about. And today in class I could physically feel the difference. And so I was in bridge pose, which was one of my favorite poses to do as a kid. Like, I was always upside down. As a kid, monkey bars and me went together bad. That's why I broke my arms twice, because I wouldn't get off those things. But I was in bridge pose, and I have a pretty good, I feel like, solid bridge pose, but she supported me in lifting up my lower spine, so she like kind of like pulled me up. That was the deepest bridge pose I have had probably since I was like a little girl, you know, like when you're young and flexible like that. And I am realigned. I'm a new person. I'm a new person, and I think that's also why I feel like having such giddy energy today on this beautiful Friday afternoon, and why I feel like painting and talking. And I just want to cultivate so much more of that energy in my life. That feels so good to me. Recently, with this separation of a past relationship, I have been going through a lot, but I have also been sitting in the silence of the separation, because me and this individual were connected for a little over a year, and it was not a match, for lack of better phrase. Like it just wasn't a positive match. And while there were positive moments, it certainly wasn't in alignment with who I am as an individual at all. And this person, when I was going through my phases of loneliness, was what I felt at the moment to be one of, or if not the only person there for me in such a dark time. And I'm forever grateful for that, because that saved me in a way. Moving to a new city is always difficult, and that really kept my heart in like this safe, comfortable, warm box, and it felt good in the moment. I'm now grown out of that need for you know, that heavy weighted connection that comes with someone being the only person that you have. Like, that's a real strong bond. And anywho, now that bond is broken, I am probably the most, in my physical reality at least, like alone I've ever been. I don't really have a lot of people surrounding my physical reality, and I have a lot of friends and loved ones are just very spread out. And so dealing with that physical loneliness, and although the relationship was long distance, not having, you know, that person to call or text or like wake up and like see their messages and be like, oh, you know, like, now that that's gone, I've had to sit with the silence of not having those messages, not having those texts, those calls, those conversations, that time. And it's actually been more of a relief than a detriment to me and my routine than I thought it would be. Sorry guys, there's a large truck driving by. So I've been sitting with that peace, and in sitting with that peace and in that silence, I have found an amazing amount of alignment and joy. Like the clarity messages that have been dropping in and out. Wow. Just like I am a new person. And through all this stuff, through these like tumultuous things, through these breakups, through these friend breakups, because Spirit knows I've had my fair share of endings, especially when it comes to relationships or friendships. And moving through those is never easy. And moving through those without additional support is even harder. And what I found that has been helpful for me whenever I'm going through something like this is to just sit in silence and look at the lessons of the situation rather than dwelling in, you know, what went wrong. And of course I dwell for a little bit. I am human. So I will sit there and dwell and be like, damn, like, how did I perpetuate the suffering within this relationship? What responsibility can I take for what I did or how I attracted this sort of energy, for what I said, what my role was, like stuff like that. Sorry. Azula, you cannot eat the orchid. Thank you. Sorry, y'all, my cat is trying to eat my plant. And that just won't do. But sitting in that silence comes with a lot of additional downloads that you get in your mind around what your role was in the negative aspects of those relationships, but not in like a judgmental, personal, I'm such a shitty person because I did XYZ, said XYZ, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And when we're within suffering and when we're within turmoil, it's very hard to maintain that like high level vibration or that high level frequency and be the person that you know that you want to be, or be the person that you know that you want to become. Like your highest self, essentially, when you are in the midst of stress and frustration and anger and argument. It's really difficult to maintain that same energy, so you're going to make mistakes because you're a human being. Human beings make mistakes. But the important part is, are you learning from those mistakes? Which is something that obviously all of us have heard. We've all heard, like, well, make sure you learn from your mistakes. Are you learning from your mistakes? What can you take away from this? Like, I know what I can take away from this because I sit in the silence of it and I don't drown it out, I don't drink it out, I don't smoke it out. I literally just, I literally just sit there in the silence and let myself feel it. Let myself, like, and then cry over it and look into it, and then I write about it, or I go on a walk about it, or I stretch it out and I breathe it out, and that's been the difference. That's where that level of introspection is really important in moving on. Because I think people are looking at me because this was a very recent separation, and I think people are looking at me kind of crazy, like, girl, how the hell did you, like, you were together for a year, how have you moved on so quickly? Like, how do you seem, better? Like, you're still putting out your content, you're still doing this, you're still saying that, like, you're still showing up, you're still smiling. How? That would have done this to me. I would have felt like da-da-da-da-da, And the only reason I don't feel like I'm carrying it still in my chest is because I'm actually sitting with it. Like, I have done absolutely nothing to distract myself from the issue at hand. And I thought about it, of course. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out and get under somebody else. And even when I was thinking like that, I was like, I don't even want to do that. That's just what I've been told, works, or like I should do now that I'm single and whatnot. Like, ooh, okay, like, go get somebody else, girl. Like, and for some people, it works. I'm not one of those people. I'm a die-hard lover girl, so I can't just be jumping from energy to energy like that. And honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't think you should jump from energy to energy like that. And as someone who has not taken enough time between serious relationships before, you want that space and time and opportunity to process what the hell you just went through. Because at the end of the day, even if it's the most positive, uplifting connection, but it's ended, you need that break to go over your role, their role, the lessons, the newfound freedom, how you're going to take the baby steps to live life without them and break out of that fantasy that you two built together. That's difficult work, and it takes a second. It takes a second, okay? And if you're one of those people who are preying on the vulnerable and you see somebody in that space and you know that they physically cannot handle or mentally cannot handle the weight and complexity that is a serious relationship with you as an individual, leave that person the heck alone. Take a couple steps back, be a comforting ear, give a warm hug, but do not go further, because that also messes someone up deeply and sometimes permanently. So that's also why, as an individual, I'm very cautious about how I behave, how I talk, how I present myself, how I'm making someone feel. I'm always checking in. I am always checking in. And I'm also always saying my own piece, saying what it is that's bothering me. I try, and I've struggled with this. I've struggled with communicating my emotions, communicating my needs, or deciding to stay quiet when I really felt something else, because I didn't want to hurt that person's feelings, or I didn't want to make them feel like I was being too much or asking for too much. But at the end of the day, Y'all know the saying, for the right person, you will never be too much. For the right people, you will never be too much. For the right partner, you will never be too much. What you're asking for will never be a burden or an extra or a, oh, like that's so much. Like, oh, that's like, why do I have to? It won't be like that. It won't be like that. My future partner, my future man, my future husband, my future wife would never. She would never. She would literally never do that to me. And that's how I came out of that space of like longing and missing and wishing so quickly, because I was like, you know what? The real person who's supposed to love me fully, completely, deeply, and honor my mind, body, and soul would not behave like that. Period. Like self-explanatory. So I don't even know where I was going with this message. But all this to say is, guys, in order to move through the suffering, you have to sit in the suffering, and it's so get it off. Like you want to shake it off. Literally, like shake it off, like get off, you know? But you have to go through it. You have to go through to get through. And if you don't go through, and if you skip that step, that is when you start repeating cycles. Do you want to repeat the cycles? Do you really want to meet the same abusive individual in a different font and form? Because that's all it is. And if you really look deep into your life, and you look at the synchronicities and the patterns in your life, you can very well see that new person in your life is just a 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0, depending on if you haven't learned the lesson yet, of the same original person that you did not learn the lesson from. The universe will just keep on, oh, she likes it here? For sure, let's give her more. That's how it works. So don't do that. Don't do that. Move on, move forward. Move through it so that you can see out of it, and then you can look at your own mistakes, and you can, you're going to feel guilty, you're going to feel shameful for a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can't even keep yourself in that space for too long, because you also deserve healing. And if you can't contact that person and say, I'm sorry, then you got to learn how to forgive yourself. You got to learn how to forgive yourself, and that's a really difficult task. That's a really difficult task. But at the end of the day, write them a letter. Write them a letter. Write it out, print it out, type it out, talk to yourself in the camera, pretend like you're talking to that person, and I guarantee you will feel some level of relief. Because sometimes it's not meant for you to reconnect with another individual after that, a certain level of separation. Sometimes it's not in the cards for you guys to see each other again. And if that's the case and you feel guilty for something or a part that you played, then you need to learn how to forgive yourself from that, learn from the mistake, and make sure that the next person that comes in your life, you don't act even remotely similar to that. You don't even get a hint of the thought of making that mistake again, because if you really loved that person, you wouldn't have acted like that. If you really loved that person, you wouldn't have said things like that. You wouldn't have commented like that. You wouldn't have treated that person like that. You wouldn't have touched them like that if you really loved that person. And I want you to think deep in your heart and body and mind and soul and in your womb space, and sit there and be like, did I really love that person, or was I using them for my benefit? Or was I using them for a means to an end? Or did they just make me feel good in the moment? Or were they just warm and cozy and cuddly? Or I just wanted a warm body next to me. Did you really love that person? Did you really take the time to look in that person's eyes and see them for what they are? Not for who they're becoming, not for the potential of the situation. Did you look at them and see who they are? Deep inside. And take a hold of that and love that and take care of that and caress that and change that. Or not even try to change that. Not change that. Don't change that. Did you look at that? And did you hold space for it properly? And listen to that person's wounds and traumas and try to help them fix it. Try to help them break out of that pattern. Try to help them change their ways of thinking if they were negative. Try to uplift them and support them in different ways. Did you do that? Because that's what love is. That's what love entails. Not the flowers and the roses and the superficial shit. Okay? At the end of the day, life is not a Hallmark trade movie. Okay? Love comes from deep in the soul. One of the things I always have told any lover that I have had is when they ask me what my love language is and I say gift giving or like receiving gifts, you know, that sort of like, you know, like acts of service sort of thing, like that sort of receiving gifts, I always tell them, I'm like, you could put a rock in my hand, draw a smiley face on it with a Sharpie, and say, I thought of you, and I will take that. I will take that rock, okay? I will take that rock, and I'll be so happy for that rock, and that rock will stay on my desk right here while I paint. Right here while I paint, and I look at it, and I'll think of you. It's really that simple. Now, obviously, I deserve more than a rock, but I'm saying, my point is to say that this stuff, you guys, it has to come from deep in your soul and deep in your spirit. You can't be repeating the same mess over and over again with different people and expecting it to work out. It doesn't work like that. Look yourself in the mirror and see who you are as a person. And know, let me tell you this, guys. Hold on, let me do a stroke of pain. Let me tell you this, guys. Redemption is always an option. It's always a possibility. It's always something that you can do. There's always something that you can achieve. Redemption is possible. Your arc is crazy and it can start at any age. My redemption arc is starting now. My redemption arc's been going on for a little bit. Okay, I had a spiritual awakening a little bit. But I'm on the beginning of the redemption arc, and it's looking real positive. Because when you do the work, the real work, don't come in with that bullshit work. When you do the real work, and you look at your habits and your behaviors and your way of thinking and your way of living, and you notice what's working, what's not working, what's hurting other people, what's hurting you, if you look at that and you try to adjust it, Alright. I think I made myself pretty clear. I didn't get much pain in that because, you know what, I just got real passionate about this. Okay? Real passionate. Because I want everybody to feel what it is I'm feeling. I'm just at the beginning. Maybe you're just at the beginning too. Maybe we're all just at the beginning of everything. Everything is the beginning. Maybe this is your first time on earth around. I know, me personally, I have an old soul. So I know I've done this before. This feels all a little too familiar. The synchronicities, as I was saying, the deja vu, y'all. This ain't my first time around the bend, okay? but if it's your first time, welcome to the room of the spiritually enlightened. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have you. It's crazy out here. But I see you doing the work. You're doing the work. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job even. You're doing better than you give yourself credit for. We are often, as humans, so incredibly judgmental on ourselves and our inner workings and what we look like in the mirror and what we're wearing and who's thinking what. You don't need all that. You're doing a good job. I'm proud of you. You should be proud of yourself too, because we're all working together. We're all doing this together. One day at a time. One day at a time. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna actually work on this because I realized that I might not be able to paint and talk at the same time. But I actually think I can. I think I just got so passionate about this this subject that I had to stop. You know, I had to look y'all in the eye to make sure y'all was locked in. Listen to you. Y'all was hearing what I was picking up, what I was putting down. What you want her to do to your face? Sit on it! You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Anywho, I love you guys so much. I hope you're having the most wonderful day. Blessings and love always. Bye. Guys, I just had to come back on here and say one last thing. I heard this song today, because y'all need this. I heard this song today in yoga class. Oh my gosh, why can't I put that on my palette? And it literally altered my consciousness, and I have to share it with everyone else. It's called Everything I Need by Trevor Hall from his album The Fruitful Darkness. This is what the cover looks like. Life-changing. Mind-bending. If you're a music person or if you have like synesthesia, or like you can literally, you're just like me and just goosebumps just like cover your body when you hear good alright. Now I'm actually gonna go now. Okay, bye.